There's not a whole lot that's keeping me to keep track of what day it is. I decided better late than never. I'm probably gonna miss something um, when I make this video, but I'm gonna try to cover as much as I can. Pretty much, in my childhood, I was just a massive tomboy. I think pretty much the only thing that separated me from the boys was my long hair. As soon as I could start dressing myself and picking out my own clothes, I never dressed girly. I wore dude's pants until probably I would say 6th grade, and then puberty happens, and they just guys' pants didn't fit me right anymore, which is a problem I still have. I never really realized there was a huge difference between boys and girls. All of my friends were boys, and if they were girls, they were tomboys. I really wanted to get my hair cut short and spiky because that was like the thing for guys when I was younger. You know, short spiky hair. That was like the thing. Like, yeah. I asked my dad a couple times. Every time he said no. He was very different back then than he is now, and back then he was more conservative, so he said no. I was very sheltered, but before I knew anything about people changing genders, I don't know how I discovered this. I never like realized it before then, but somehow I discovered that like boys be standing up like all boys do. So I tried it, and may I just brag about my success. That was kind of a short-lived thing because I don't know, I just started getting like freaked out, like someone would find out. Honestly, I had Beanie Babies and I had American Girl dolls, and like I had fun with them. I think though that any gender of child can have fun with pretty much any toy you give them if they have an imagination. I don't think toys really speak of gender. I had things that were stereotypically female. They'd like to like ride bikes and skateboard and scooter and all that stuff. I would do these kind of sports with my best friend at the time, who was a guy. We'd like do tricks and we'd like do like extreme stuff. You know, it wasn't just like riding around. So that in that way, it was kind of more masculine, I guess. For almost my entire life, um, except now, I'm starting to just kind of let it go more. But all my life, I've tried to not be like the girls. As someone born female, I was socialized as female, so I couldn't avoid it completely. But like, I tried. I really did try not to fit in with girls completely. 5th grade, that was the first time that we had like sex education, and they separated the boys and the girls. I knew that I had to go with girls because at 5th grade I started to have more of a concept of like, I have these parts and boys have those parts, that kind of thing. So I knew where I was going, but it just felt really awkward. As someone in a female body, it's not like bad that I learned the female reproductive parts. I don't think I would have benefited very much from going with the boys, but I felt really awkward. I felt really uncomfortable. Like what she was talking about shouldn't be happening to me. She was talking, about like, hey, you girls are getting to that age where you might start your period or your breasts might start to grow. And I was just like, ugh. When I actually did start my period, I feel awkward saying that, but yeah, when I started that, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought like I was dying, and I don't know why because I was old enough to understand, but I was just like in this delusion that like I wasn't gonna, that's never gonna happen to me. Always, and it's still even more so now. I think it's just hard on me. I thought, because no girl like is like, oh, thank you, period fairies, for giving this to me. So I thought I was just kind of like that, but I think my hatred for it is a lot deeper than just it being uncomfortable. When I started developing, I didn't want them to like show, so I wore sports bra until 9th grade. The only reason I got like an actual like bra was because my friends started commenting on how they could notice that I wasn't wearing like a normal bra. And honestly, it did not last long because I didn't like the way it looked. So I just started wearing sports bras again. So they never really showed a lot, um, but they still showed, and definitely um, sports bras definitely would not be adequate binding. This just reminded me, talking about my like upper area, this just reminded me, there was this one time I was at my grandma's house with my family, and my male cousins had their shirts off, and so I took my shirt off, and I just walked around, and I was like, I'm a man. I didn't really know what I was doing, but now that I look back, I'm like, you would do that, okay? In 8th grade, I had to take women's accountability. I was so angsty about having to take that class. Like, the whole trimester that I was in it. In 9th grade, I started to kind of like come out as bisexual and gay and a lot of different things. But when I did that, I started kind of like seeing the community more, and I started hearing about genderqueer and stuff like that. So by sophomore year, I was like, definitely genderqueer. Looking at it, I was like, I could never be transgender. That's not me. I'm definitely not transgender. Ultimately, I just had to like sit down and think to myself about how it would feel if people saw me as male, and I ended up coming to this conclusion. Anywho, I've been talking for 22 minutes, so I have a lot of editing to do, so I should probably stop talking now. Sorry for being late, guys. See you next week if I remember.